Still have a few people coming in. Continue talking for a second. Okay. Good evening. On behalf of the Board of Directors of the Jewish Federation of Sarasota-Manatee, I want to thank you for being here tonight. My name is Howard Tavlowitz, and I'm the CEO of our Jewish Federation. This past Shabbat, Pittsburgh's Jewish community's strength and unity wrapped its loving arms around its hurting members as they mourned together as one. This contagious force of solidarity crossed the borders of the Allegheny River, reaching Jewish communities around the world and now here in Sarasota-Manatee. We are all hurting together, feeling the burning ache, crying for the loss of innocence. The ugly face of hatred and its devastating power took 11 innocent people, all killed for being Jews, all killed by worshiping in a sanctuary, a place meant to be safe. As so many have done before, too many, they paid the ultimate price for carrying with pride their Jewish heritage. The greatest act of anti-Semitism ever in our country's history now requires the greatest act of solidarity. You may ask, what can you do? Being here tonight is a start. If you're interested in giving, tomorrow we're going to be opening on the Federation website a fund that's been set up by the Pittsburgh Jewish Federation to help the families cope. Another way of affirming our faith and identity is through #ShowUpForShabbat. Next Shabbat, our friends at the AJC, the American Jewish Committee, are encouraging all members of the Jewish community, our Jewish community, and all people of conscience to attend a Shabbat service at one of our local congregations. Please watch more from AJC. We also want to recognize those here tonight from Pittsburgh. Our Pittsburgh Jewish community is small. Everybody knows someone affected by this tragedy. Could those from Pittsburgh just please stand up and we could recognize you, and thank you. I'd also like to recognize our political leadership here tonight. I'm Congressman Vern Buchanan, Representative Joe Gruders, Representative Margaret Good, Police Chief Bernadette Capino, and Sheriff Tom Knight. And if I forgot anybody, I apologize. This has been a long couple of days. I'd also really like to recognize and thank our faith and civic leadership throughout the community here. It's an amazing thing to see. Two lastlies. First, the City of Sarasota and law enforcement. I can't thank you enough on behalf of the Federation. Thank you. At 10 o'clock this morning, we didn't have a site for this vigil. So, amazing. And secondly, I want to thank Rabbi Werba, Michael Werba from Temple Echelon, for organizing the program and bringing faith leaders from all walks of life here. They and you are our community of conscience. Per David Harris from the AJC, whether in the face of a hate-motivated attack against the Black church in Charleston, which took 9 lives, or a synagogue in Pittsburgh, which took 11 lives, we are determined to ensure that love triumphs over hate, good over evil, unity over division. That's our America. And I might add, that's our Sarasota and Manatee as well. Thank you.
We ask you now to rise and to join in singing our national anthems.
We come here today as people of conscience. Our hearts ache. Our hearts ache for the community in Squirrel Hill, for the 11 beautiful souls that were taken before their time, for their families and their friends who grieve, for the community whose peaceful home was shattered with terror and bloodshed. I know that some people here this evening are from Pittsburgh or have ties to the community and the deceased. We all extend our condolences to you. But this tragic act has struck us all. When I first learned the news from Pittsburgh, I was so sad. But then, yesterday, when they released the names and the ages of those who were killed, it hit me all over again. It was as if I knew them all. I mean, not literally, but I know them. Who doesn't know someone named Joyce and Jerry and Bernice? Who doesn't know a Rosenthal or a Stein? Who doesn't know a Jewish dentist? It could have been anywhere. It could have been any of us. Jews of America feel a kinship with every person killed in Pittsburgh. But it's not just us. The people of America are feeling compassion for the Jewish community. I cannot tell you how many of my members have told me today that some Gentile neighbor or distant friend has reached out to them today and offered words of sorrow. The act of horror carried out by one man is revealing the beauty of hundreds of thousands of others who are reaching out now in love and embrace. I hope that this day serves as a wake-up call to the nation, that the rise of anti-Semitism of the past 2 years is a real concern. The Jews of America are well aware. We are taking firm steps to secure our campuses and tighten security. Maybe we can elect officials who will make sure that militarized weapons are not readily available. But I want to end my remarks today by telling you what happened at our temple yesterday morning. We had Sunday school, and it was the biggest attendance we had all year.
Were parents scared to bring their children to a synagogue? Yes, they were, but they came and they stayed. And we comforted one another and taught words of Torah to our children. We will not be deterred. The 11 Jews who died were avid shul goers. They were called shomrim, guardians, because they were there every week, keeping it going. When a guardian goes down, you're supposed to stand up and take their place. Let us honor those who died by carrying on their ways, their values, their commitment. I am Rabbi Brenner Glickman. I represent my congregation, Temple Emmanuel. We stand in solidarity with the Jewish community in Pittsburgh, as well as Jews in Sarasota and throughout the world. I light this candle in memory of Sylvan Simon.
I'm Rabbi Stephen Snyderman from Temple Beth Israel on Longboat Key. I represent my congregation and we stand in solidarity with the Jewish population and the Jewish community in Pittsburgh, as well as Jews in Sarasota and throughout the world. I light this candle in memory of Jerry Rabinowitz.
Shalom, everybody. Peace. I am Rabbi Ann Feibelman from Aviva, a campus for senior life. We stand in solidarity with the Jewish community in Pittsburgh, as well as Jews in Sarasota and throughout the world. I would like to share the following prayer written by Rabbi Naomi Levy in memory of those who died at the Tree of Life. A prayer for the dead. We are devastated, God, and our hearts are breaking. In this time of shock and mourning, the loss is overwhelming. Send comfort and strength, God, to grieving family members. Send healing to the injured. Send strength and wisdom to their doctors and nurses. Bless the courageous police officers who risked their lives to protect innocent lives. Shield us from despair, God. Ease our pain. Let our fears give way to hope. Lead us to join together as a nation to put an end to anti-Semitism, an end to hatred, an end to gun violence. Teach us, God, to honor the souls we have lost by raising our hands and voices together in the cause of peace, because Torah is a tree of life and all its paths are peace. Work through us, God, turn our helplessness into action, Teach us to believe that we can rise up from this tragedy and banish the hate that is tearing our world apart. We must never be indifferent to the plight of any who suffer. We must learn to care, to open our hearts and to open our hands. Innocent blood is calling out to us. God of the brokenhearted, God of the living, God of the dead, gather the souls of the victims into your eternal shelter. Let them find peace in your presence, God. Their lives have ended, but their lights can never be extinguished. May they shine on us always and illuminate our way. And let us say, Amen. I'd like us all to join in my favorite song. Oh, say shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. May God bring peace to us, to all Israel, and to all the peoples of the world. And before I light a light for Rose Mallinger, I invite each of us to shake the person's hand next to you, to the left and to the right, and wish them peace. Thank you.
I am Ron Eisman. I represent my congregation, Temple Bethel. We stand in solidarity with the Jewish community in Pittsburgh, as well as the Jews in Sarasota and throughout the world. I light this candle in memory of Joyce Feinberg.
I'm Rabbi Mendy from Chabad of Bradenton and Lakewood Ranch. We stand in solidarity with the Jewish community of Pittsburgh and the entire Jewish community of Sarasota and Manatee County and the Jews around the world. And I light this candle in memory of Irving Younger.
I'm Rabbi Jennifer Singer. I represent my congregation Kol Hanishima. And I have never been to Squirrel Hill. I was never at Pittsburgh. I don't know the three rabbis who served the congregations in that building. I never had the opportunity to meet the people who died there. But 11 branches were cut from the tree of life. And today something broken is inside me because of this unthinkable act. And I worry for my people, and I worry for our nation more than ever before. I am not alone. I understand there are nearly 2,000 people here tonight, and many more thousands have gathered and continue to gather at vigils like this one. The brokenness in our hearts worsens at the news of every school shooting and every time someone kills people at a concert, at a nightclub, at a church, and now in a synagogue. We have long feared that this would come. And it came with shouts of "Kill all the Jews." It came with online rants against HIAS, a Jewish organization that aids all immigrants and refugees. It came laden with fear and hatred and ignorance. And my friends, the only way that we can combat that hatred and fear and ignorance is if we get up and get out and talk to one another, to learn each other's names, to discover the common threads that tie us all together, to teach that differences are to be celebrated, not feared. Broken places can be healed. A tree that has been wounded can still grow, especially if it is the tree of life. The problem is that it feels as if the possibility of healing is in the hands of others, and excuse me, but of politicians who use language as a weapon, in the hands of fearmongers who wish to stir hatred and sow dissent. But we cannot allow that. It is upon us. It is in our hands to change our nation, to become the beacon of hope and freedom that we have dreamt of. They're here, but we cannot wait for the politicians. It's up to us. And I am certain that it is possible because of 3 small things that happened to me over the past 2 days. The first was a text from Pastor Glenn Bell, who's here tonight, of First Presbyterian Church. I had just gotten into my car after leading Shabbat morning services and glanced at my phone. The text said, "Is there anything I can do to support you and Kol HaNeshama through the terrible news coming out of Pittsburgh?" It's how I learned that something had happened. And I learned it from a Christian whose first thought was to offer comfort and support. The second was yesterday afternoon when I stepped out of my apartment, away from the emails and the phone calls and the TV news, away from the grief and the anger, into the sunlight. And looking up, I saw the American and Greek flags flying at half-mast over St. Barbara's Greek Orthodox Church. When they decided to lower those flags, they did not know that a rabbi lived next door. They just wanted to acknowledge that something awful had happened in a house of worship, and they wanted to show their caring and concern. And the third happened just a couple of hours ago. My phone rang, and a woman's voice with a slight accent politely asked if she could bring her children here tonight. She said she was from the Islamic Society of Sarasota-Bradenton. I never asked her name. And her kids are 12, 7, and 3. I told her how happy I was that she wanted to bring her children to this vigil in memory of people whom she had never met. I hope she came. We talked about having a 3-year-old at an event like this late at night. But merely wanting to bring her children, to teach her children, that was something. Broken places can be healed, and the tree of life has deep roots. If we are willing to do the hard work, our words and our actions can water those roots, can help the tree flourish once again. On behalf of those whose lives were cut short, and with God's help, we must. My congregation and I stand in solidarity with the Jewish community in Pittsburgh, as well as Jews in Sarasota and throughout the world. I light this candle in memory of Daniel Stein.
Would everyone please look at the person next to them? Would everyone please look in the eyes of the person next to them and say and repeat after me, may the Lord bless you and keep you. Shalom. I'm Chaplain Tom, the mother hen of your Sarasota Ministerial Association. May the Lord bless you and keep you. It was the Christian Sabbath of June 25th, 1978. I was walking out of my father's office in Skokie, Illinois. My dad's office was right across from City Hall, Skokie's City Hall, and I witnessed a small group of men, perhaps less than 15, dressed in black, raising a huge red flag with a swastika in the middle of it. That night I was at Rita Schoenfeld's home. Rita is the best friend of my girlfriend, Sherry Rugendorf. Rita's mom and pop were two of the 8,000 Holocaust survivors who lived in Skokie then. Everyone was crying and yelling, and the time I can remember hearing the two words, never again. Just a small group of men, sick with hate, marched hell into Skokie that night, that Sabbath night for Christians. But just weeks later, hundreds gathered on Oakton Street, across from Skokie City Hall, and later almost 1,000, in protest against anti-Semitism and in hopes of peace. Tonight I shall not be silent, for I speak with the voices of over 70 organizations who love you, who stand tonight in solidarity against the atrocity of anti-Semitism and who join hands with you in praying for peace. I wear my yarmulke in solidarity. I wear my collar in solidarity. I wear my grief in solidarity for those in Pittsburgh, here in Sarasota, in Skokie, and those who love peace throughout the world. Our flags are at half-mast. In the name of the God of Sarah, Rebecca, and Rachel, may the Lord bless you and keep you and give you peace.
To my Christian brothers and sisters, Kairas, Kai Arene. To my Islamic brothers and sisters, Salam. And to you, my brothers and sisters, Shalom. All I said was peace. And we're not here because of race. We're not here because of political affiliation. We're not even here because of faith tradition. We are here because we are created in the image of God. And because we are created in the image of God, every time I look at you, I see God's image. And we are here because there is a remnant of people who believe that what has taken place, and what we see in this country and in this world is bottom line hate and evil. So what I'm here for, why I'm here and why many of us are here, yes, to remember those who have lost their lives. But more importantly, we stand together in unity to let evil know it will no longer have power over humanity. We are here to say enough is enough. We are here to say that we are each other's neighbors. There was a rabbi who once was asked a question, who is my neighbor? Some of you know the story. He gave a long dissertation about what being neighborly is. But I often say, and I said it to my congregation on yesterday where I pastor, Bethel Christian Methodist Episcopal Church, is that we need to change that question around and say, be a neighbor, instead of who is my neighbor. If we become neighbor and neighborly, all of this evil will be set aside. There's a hymn, or a song rather, in the African American community. And it says, when all of God's children get together, what a time, what a time, what a time. I want you to know that when all of God's children, Jew and Gentile, slave and free, male or female, when we all come together and stand up against evil, evil will have to take a seat. Really, evil will have to flee and run. So I don't know about you. The reason why I'm here is because I'm mad. I'm going to use my wife's term. I'm pissed off. And we as humanity, we as human beings, will rise together and go forward and make sure peace abounds. David said, weeping might endure for the night. But I'm going to put some black in there right now. Hallelujah. 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 Joy is coming in the morning. God bless you.
My name is Mohammed bin Khalid. I represent the Islamic Society of Sarasota-Bradenton. I just want to express my deepest pain and aching. But when I look at this beautiful audience, it depicts a true manifestation of unity and solidarity. I'm deeply saddened about what happened, about the tragedy that happened last Saturday in the Tree Life Synagogue. On behalf of the Islamic Society of Sarasota-Bradenton, I strongly condemn this heinous crime. And I truly believe that the sanctity of those precious souls are being highly sacred in the sight of the Almighty God. In the Quran, the word of God, in one beautiful verse, he said that whoever or whosoever does kill one soul as if he killed the entire humanity. With immense grief, I would like to seize the occasion to offer my condolences to the victims and the family of victims, and ask the Almighty God to bestow upon them patience, perseverance, solace. Let me conclude with these words of convictions and certitude, that as long as we have the will of the power and determination, we will never give the opportunity to these perpetrators to break us and divide us. Let me conclude with this by saying that the Islamic Society of Sarasota-Bradenton are wholeheartedly standing behind the Jewish community in Pittsburgh and the Jewish community in the Sarasota. Thank you very much.
Shalom. I am Hazan Cliff Abramson. I am co-clergy at my synagogue, Temple Sinai, here in Sarasota, Florida. Sometimes when we are so full of grief that we are robbed of the words to express themselves, we return to our liturgy, we return to Psalms. Tonight we sing Psalm 121, I lift up my eyes, from where does my help come? We stand in solidarity with the Jewish community in Pittsburgh, as well as Jews in Sarasota and throughout the world, as I light this candle in the memory of David Rosenthal.
I am Rabbi Jonathan R. Katz. I serve as community chaplain in a role that was created through a partnership between the Jewish Federation of Sarasota-Manatee and Jewish Family and Children's Service of the Suncoast.
The depravity carried out in Pittsburgh has shaken us. Once again, we are faced with a mindless, numbing mass shooting. These tragic events take an emotional toll. The loss of innocent life in such heinous fashion cannot but evoke feelings of grave concern and anxiety. We continue to say, "There, but for the grace of God, go I." How can hatred be so blind? How can someone be so eager to surrender to their most vile impulses? On the other hand, we shouldn't be shocked. It's been this way since the dawn of human history. The pattern played out over and over. Fabricated animus is fomented against members of a group whose violent attack is then justified in the name of a supposed greater good that merely serves as camouflage for political, religious, or economic expediency. The difference today is that the means of perpetrating this violence has grown exponentially more lethal. In the hands of a deranged individual consumed with manufactured, pent-up rage, bent on killing all Jews, all blacks, all Muslims, all gays, a high-powered weapon becomes an instrument of instant carnage. Along with many others, I thought the internet and the vast dissemination of information it makes possible would profoundly serve the cause of truth and understanding. And in several respects, it has. But it has also been warped to distort perspective, sow distrust, and perpetuate falsehoods that have led many to assume the absolute worst about the so-called other. We ask, when will it stop? And yet we know, like Pandora's box, something has been loosed that will simply not be put back. So, what do we do in the face of our growing unease? The Jewish community in particular is familiar with what is being increasingly encountered at large. Through the ages, baseless accusations have been made against us to condone the taking not only of our property, but lives. Our suffering was unsurprisingly regarded as evidence of duplicity, when all it really was evidence of our scapegoating for someone else's sins. When, after hundreds of years of vibrant life in Spain, Jews suddenly confronted the Inquisition in the late 15th century, they were forced to either convert or flee. Many were burned at the stake. The community was shattered. What do we do now? Where do we go? Many found their way to the far reaches of Eastern Europe, where they managed to eke out a paltry living. But they nonetheless refused to succumb to spiritual despair. Though they lost virtually everything and found themselves in quite desolate locations, they rekindled their faith by seeking to liberate the divine light from the broken shards of their experience in Spain. Accordingly, they discovered newfound joy in life's simplicities, in the beauty and fervor of singing and dancing, storytelling, the wonder of learning and laughter, in the accentuated pursuit of positive social exchange and elevated human relations. They embraced new approaches to the human condition. In a seemingly God-forsaken place, through heartfelt intention and imagination and courage, they succeeded in cultivating a powerful divine presence. Their neighbors were stupefied by how these poverty-stricken Jews seemed to possess so much good-heartedness and enthusiasm. Enthusiasm, a word from the Greek, entheos, meaning with God. How could they be this way, they wondered, when these Jews had materially so little and endured so much tribulation? We too, in the face of what happened in Pittsburgh, Charleston, Orlando, Las Vegas, and on for far too long, must endeavor to work harder to evince light where others seek only to promote darkness. Through our words and our deeds, big and small, we must show that an endless reservoir of potential goodness still remains to be tapped and brought to bear in our world. And all of us, in our own way, can be a source of this goodness. We cannot allow ourselves to be dissuaded or discouraged. For our sake and that of our children, we must not lose our way, but recommit to walking that much more purposefully, proudly, and meaningfully along. May it be so. Amen. Amen.
I am Cantor Marcy Vitkus. I represent my congregation, the Jewish Congregation of Venice. We stand in solidarity with the Jewish community in Pittsburgh, as well as Sarasota and throughout the world. I light this candle in memory of Richard Gottfried.
I am Robert Goldman. I represent my congregation, Chabad of Venice, and Rabbi Shalom Be'er Schmerling, on whose behalf I'm here tonight because he was otherwise out of town at another engagement. He regrets he's not here. We stand in solidarity with the Jewish community in Pittsburgh, as well as Jews throughout Sarasota and the world. And I light this candle in memory of Melvin Wex.
I'm Rabbi Michael Werbo, Rabbi at Temple Beth Shalom, Sarasota. I'm also the president of the Sarasota-Manatee Rabbinic Association. I'm going to go off script for a moment and thank everybody for being here. I want to thank representatives from the congregations that are here to light the candles in memory of those who died in the attack in Pittsburgh. 11 congregations make up our Sarasota community. 11 died in Pittsburgh. And lastly, before I share formal remarks, I want to invite that Islamic family, if you're here tonight, Your kids are about the same age as of my kids who are sitting over here. You all should get to know each other and be friends. I first want to share a letter from the Diocese of Venice and Bishop Dwayne, who regrets not being able to be here today. He shared, "Dear Rabbi Werbo and the Jewish community of Sarasota-Manatee, with this letter I wish to express my deep condolences and sorrow for the inhumane acts of violence and anti-Semitism that took place on Saturday, October 27, in a house of worship, the Tree of Life Synagogue in the Squirrel Hill neighborhood of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Prayers have been and are being offered for the 11 people who lost their lives, along with those who were injured, and for all the families suffering following these violent acts. The members of the Jewish community who were in the synagogue on Saturday morning to offer a concrete expression of their faith were killed because of the faith. This can never be tolerated in any society. We stand with the entire Jewish community to say there is no place in our world for any expression of anti-Semitism. The Diocese of Venice remains committed to joining our Jewish brothers and sisters to continue to eradicate this evil. Once again, my deepest expression of sorrow is extended to the Jewish community. May God grant peace to those who lost their lives, bring healing to the injured, and offer comfort to the family of those killed and hurt. Sincerely yours, Frank Dwayne." We are told that the Second Temple in Jerusalem was destroyed because of baseless hatred. This past Shabbat, our spiritual sense of temple was destroyed by baseless hatred. The reality of the Israelites in ancient times was forever changed. Our reality is shattered as well. Of course, at these times, the most common thing that I'm asked is, where do you find strength? What supports you? I'm one to look forward. Yes, we have to mourn what has happened, but we also have to discover how to move ahead. One text that gives me direction is from Psalms 34. Mi ha'ish ha'chafetz chayim, ohev yamim lirot tov. Who is the person who desires life, loves long years, seeing good fortune? Nitzor lashoncha mera usfatecha medaber mirma. Keep your tongue from evil, your lips from speaking lies. Sur mera v'asetov, bakesh shalom v'rodfehu. Shun evil and do good. Seek peace and pursue it. There is no way that one can internalize these verses from Psalm 24 and carry out such a horrible act. When people ask, how does someone do something so inconceivable as to walk into a house of prayer and murder those who came to pray, I share that this person doesn't understand these verses. What is a good long life? It's one, no matter how many years it lasts, in which you act to remain far from evil. This is not passively being a good person. It's actively shunning evil and pursuing peace. One cannot do that if they think they're better than another person. One cannot do that if they believe that the world would be improved if certain peoples did not exist. To pursue peace is not to remove a part of the community. It's to connect with that which is different, to respect differences and embrace them. Our worlds have been turned upside down. We cannot believe that this has taken place. We're stunned and in shock. And if we are feeling this way, 1,000 miles away from where this attack took place, we can only imagine how those who were directly affected are feeling. Before coming to Sarasota, I served a congregation in Pittsburgh, which was 8 blocks, half a mile from the site of this attack. I lived 2 blocks away. I walked past this congregation each time I went to my own synagogue. While it was one of the many synagogues in the Squirrel Hill neighborhood of Pittsburgh that I did not attend, it was one in which I knew many of the congregants. I knew individuals who were killed on Shabbat and will be heading there tomorrow for at least one of the funerals. If you followed the news, you are beginning to understand that Pittsburgh and Squirrel Hill specifically is a unique community. The people who live there have known it for a long time. Squirrel Hill is a place where a right-leaning conservative congregation and a left-leaning Reform congregation can merge religious schools, and not only does it work, it thrives. Squirrel Hill is a place where regularly people have membership in more than one congregation. Why? Well, partially because one congregation may have been where their parents belonged or where they grew up, and they now go to another congregation but retain membership to the family connection. But even more so, people realize that one congregation cannot possibly fulfill all of their spiritual needs. They may attend one for prayer and another for social action activities. They may regularly attend classes at one while being involved in community events at another. Squirrel Hill is a place where the majority of people walk to their synagogues on Shabbat. For many, this is not out of religious observance, but because they live in the same neighborhood as their synagogue. Many were on their way to their respective synagogues when the shooter entered the Tree of Life building. Squirrel Hill is a place where on the eve of Shavuot, over 500 people come together at the Jewish Community Center for a night of learning and connecting. It's a time not to hear their own rabbi teach, but to learn from other rabbis in the community. Those people have come together for the last 2 nights to support one another. Squirrel Hill is a place where 2 conservative congregations and a Reconstructionist congregation can share a building. It was in this location that this horrible anti-Semitic act took place. While the news keeps talking about Tree of Life, the New Light congregation and Dor Chadash were also having Shabbat services. 2 conservative, 1 Reconstructionist congregation, all in the same building. This is the community that's been shattered. It's a community that has not shown tolerance of others, but has pursued peace by embracing and respecting others. We stand in solidarity by reaching out to those who we don't know and learning about them. In our morning and evening prayer services, we see the importance of turning to one another in love. The Shema, cornerstone of our tradition, has a prayer before and a prayer after. Prayer after speaks of God's love for us, and the prayer after is our love for God. The core statement of our faith stands between the love that we show to God and that God shows to us. And Emmanuel Levinas teaches we see God in the face of the other. If we want to show love to God, we show love to other people. If we want to feel God's love, we receive the love that others have to offer. What was destroyed by this baseless hatred? The innocence of 2 men with developmental disabilities, 2 brothers. They showed nothing but love to others. They had no understanding of hate. What was destroyed? A man who served as a hospital chaplain, who's still in critical condition. And we pray that he and others injured are able to return to bringing peace and comfort to all. What was destroyed? The innocence of my 12-year-old daughter, who's attended synagogue every Shabbat of her life, and many weekdays too. She now has fear about entering a synagogue. In her words, I don't want to die. So with all these things that have been taken away, how do we go on? We can find that answer in the name of one of the congregations from the attack, the Tree of Life. In Hebrew, it's Eitz Chaim. What is the Eitz Chaim of our tradition? What is our Tree of Life? It is Torah. Torah is both the holy scroll that we read from in the synagogue, but it's also the vast body of Jewish thought and tradition. We hold strongly onto the Eitz Chaim. It is our source of life. We say as we return the Torah to the ark, it is the tree of life to those that hold fast to it, and all its supporters are happy. Its ways are pleasantness, and all its paths are peace. Hold fast to Torah. Hold fast to our tradition. Support it, and it will support you. Look into the faces of the other and find love. Follow the paths of our tradition to peace. Amen. Rabbi Michael Werbo, I represent my congregation, Temple Beth Shalom. We stand in solidarity with the Jewish community in Pittsburgh as well as Jews in Sarasota and throughout the world. And I light a candle in memory of Cecil Rosenthal.
I am Rabbi Zev Steinmetz. I represent my congregation, Chabad of West Bradenton. We stand in solidarity with the Jewish community in Pittsburgh, as well as all Jews in Sarasota and throughout the world. I light this candle in memory of Bernice Simon.
Hi, my name is Rabbi Chaim Steinmetz, and I represent Chabad of Sarasota and Manatee. It is wonderful that we all came together, uniting, as we participate in making a statement to the country that anti-Semitism will not be tolerated, and that we will fight it and make sure to eradicate it. As many of my congregants are asking, what can they do? I turn to my mentor and my teacher, the Lubavitch Rabbi of blessed memory, who taught us that one good deed is more valuable than 1,000 sighs. So I encourage you that in memory of those who perished, to take upon yourself to add a mitzvah, a good deed, a bond between us and God, a bond between us and a fellow Jew. In particular, and very appropriate in this instance, I would encourage everyone to add in the mitzvah of mezuzah. Mezuzah is the small box we have fixed on our doorpost, as God commanded us. Mezuzah has the special ability to protect us, as God's name appears on the parchment that is encased in the mezuzah. God's name, Shin Dalet Yud, which is an acronym, Shomer Daltot Israel. God, the guardian of the doors and dwellings of our homes. We should try and make sure that we are very proud of our heritage and will not be ashamed. Placing a mezuzah is making a statement, I am Jewish and I'm proud of it. And those of us who already have a mezuzah, you may be able to add by realizing that a mezuzah should be placed on every door in the house, not just on the main entrance. And many of us who do have a mezuzah on every door, maybe perhaps we can upgrade by making sure to check the mezuzah and make sure the parchment is kosher. By Jewish law, a mezuzah must be checked at least once every 3 years. In our community and environment, it is a must. Here at Chabad, we have taken this project a step forward and are offering every single individual in our community a free mezuzah. A rabbi will be happy to present you with a mezuzah or help you fix the mezuzah or check the mezuzah free of charge. I hope that my other colleagues here on the dais will join in helping increase good by placing more mezuzot in our community, kosher mezuzot. And as I said, it's free just for the asking. I am sure that in merit of adding in good deeds, any good deed, God will listen to our prayers and watch how we unite together, putting our differences aside and making sure that we all stand up and say, this is unacceptable. We will not bow down, but will stand with our head up and try and prevent it from happening again. Together with communities around the country, I am sure God will listen to all our prayers, and in the merit of those lives who were taken, God will eradicate all tragedies, pain, and suffering, and may we only find and meet on happy occasions. I was given the honor of reciting the Kel Male Rachamim, a special prayer recited in memory of the martyrs, the Kedoshim. So I ask you to please rise as I'm reciting the Kel Male. El Mole Rachamim, Shoichem Mevoimim, Amtzei Menucho Necheinu al Kampei Shchina, B'malois Kedei Shimutei Hoirim, Kezoyer HaRokia Mazirim, Es Neshamois, Sylvan Simon, Jerry Rabinowitz, Rose Mellinger, Joyce Feinberg, Irvin Younger, Daniel Stein, David Rosenthal, Richard Gottfried, Melvin Wax, Cecil Rosenthal, and Bernie Simon, Sheol Chulei Lomoi, Lochein Balo Rachamim, Yastireim Besesek Nofog Leilomim, Ve'itzre Vitzre Rechaim Es Nishmosom, Hashem Unachalosom, V'yanuchu B'Shalom Al Mishkabom, V'neimar Amen. Thank you, and you may be seated.
My name is Rabbi Michael Sheffrin. I serve at Temple Emmanuel here in Sarasota, and we stand in solidarity with the Jewish community of Pittsburgh, as well as Jews in Sarasota, and all those who love peace around the world. In a moment, we will recite the Mourner's Kaddish. It is a beautiful calling out of praise of God. For many of us, it offers us a chance to reflect on life, and family, and tradition. Many of us know it. I'd like to speak to those who don't. Our allies from different faiths and communities that are here today, those first responders that are here and serving and keeping us safe tonight. Your presence here matters. Thank you for showing up. The Mourner's Kaddish, our tradition teaches it should be said amongst a quorum. it shouldn't be said alone, that we need each other when we honor and remember those that have died. I invite all of us who are able to stand together in solidarity as we recite the Mourner's Couch. Yitkadash, Yitkadash, Shmei Rabba, Ve'omad Yivrach Yiratei, Ve'amlich Malchutei, V'chayekon, V'yomekon, V'chayek, V'chol Beit Yisrael, V'agala, V'zman Karid, V'yimru, Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabba Mevorach Le'olam V'omei Omaya. Yisbarach V'yishtabach V'yitzha'ar V'yitzramah V'yitnaseh. V'yitzadar V'yitzaleh V'yitzalal Shemei Zekudsha Revu. Le'elam Min Kol Berchata V'shirata. Tushkochata V'nechamata. Damiran Be'amav V'yimru Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya. V'chaim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'yimru Amen. Oseh Shalom V'yimrama. Uyaseh Shalom Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'yimru Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. And let us all, first responders, guests, friends, Jews, politicians, clergy, everyone, let us together say, Amen.
As we stand together, I want to welcome up any other clergy that are here, Jewish, non-Jewish, Christian, Muslim, clergy. Come on forward so we can all stand together here on the stage, show our solidarity as one community. Everybody else can take a moment to take out their cell phones. I know you have them. Even though you've done a pretty good job, they haven't been ringing throughout the service. Turn on your lights, hold them high, wave them back and forth as we sing some songs together.
It looks nice. Let us join together in the words of Hine Matov, a song about how good it is for brothers and sisters and community to be together. Hine Matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. We ask for peace here in Sarasota, in the hearts and souls of those in Pittsburgh, and throughout the country and our world, as we sing together, Oseh Shalom. Oseh Shalom b'namav, Uyaseh Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Uyaseh Shalom, Uyaseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Uyaseh Shalom, Uyaseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Thank you and good night.